We like to start every episode with the disclaimer that we are not professionals. Our conversations are solely based on our personal experiences, thoughts, and opinions. Nothing discussed here is meant to be taken as professional mental health or medical advice. If you have questions or need assistance, please seek the help of a licensed professional.
Discussions in this podcast may sometimes revolve around heavy material such as abuse, grooming, religious trauma, and more. Please listen with caution and prioritize your mental health first.
Welcome to Trauma Bondage,
The podcast where we talk about trauma, kinks, and non-traditional lifestyles and relationships from a queer lens.
We're your hosts,
Brigitte
and Beth. That was for you.
Jesus fucking Christ. That better be in the episode. That's the opening.
Oh my God.
Oh
what a
my
sexy
God.
time we're having snorting over here. Welcome to Trauma Bondage. It's like she's not going to get it out.
I will get it out. Welcome to Trauma Bondage. Welcome back. Oh, God.
Who are you?
I honestly don't even know. Who are you? You're over here snorting at me and scaring the shit out of me. You're such a goofball today. I love it. Hi, guys. Welcome back. We are talking about some polyamory today.
As we do.
We're talking about some dynamics. We're going to talk about jealousy, boundaries, and the like, and maybe some of our own personal experiences.
Cowgirls and boys as well, if you will.
Cow thems.
Cow thems. Cow theys?
Cow gays.
I literally hate us. Yeah, so we're going to talk about some, like, you know, some stuff that can be a little heavy, but, like, we're going to try to make it fun and light and...
Fun and light.
Fun and light. And, like, we might get a little serious, but just ignore that.
Yeah.
Brigitte.
Yeah, boo.
Tell me what you've got when it comes to polyamory relationship styles. Because you're the one that has that information.
So, we have 4 types to go into when it comes to polyamorous
relationship
styles, metamor relating styles, mostly metamor relating styles. So outside of like the dynamics themselves, but kind of goes hand in hand. So the first being lap sitting, polyamory. This is like quite literally what it sounds like. It's when you're in a dynamic where metamors, so we've talked about metamors. Mm-hmm. It's like if you and I are dating and I have another partner, that partner is your metamor.
Yes.
It's where the metamors are so comfortable with each other that they sometimes, or quite literally, will sit in each other's laps like they're buddies. They're besties. Exactly.
Yep.
Beth's lap is open for, I don't know.
Anyone?
Applications.
Applications. Send in an application.
Like they'll literally sit in each other's laps. Like they may even have a little bit more physical intimacy or entanglements with each other sometimes, but like maybe don't have an established relationship. But like they're close. Like they're close. Usually pretty open with each other. Talk, are friends.
There's a friendship.
In it. There's kitchen table polyamory, which is a very common one that you're going to hear, is that where everybody's, like the polycule in general, they maintain an open and frequent communication. Sometimes it's often, they talk about, it's where they'll literally sit around the kitchen table and have like family discussions, if you will. So they're going to be discussing their lives, their needs, their feelings openly with everyone, not just with their individual partner.
Yep.
And then you have garden party polyamory, which I think is really cute.
I haven't heard of this one.
I feel like it's very British, but like garden party.
Love it.
So garden party polyamory is used to describe a more relaxed approach when it comes to metamor dynamics. So partners may not necessarily interact super closely or as frequently, but it gives a little bit more like independence and flexibility. So like it can resemble a social gathering where different people are interacting at their own pace. So like we'll chat sometimes and then we live our lives.
So it's more like the metamors are like acquaintances versus like very close friends.
Yes. Yeah. And then parallel polyamory, which is one that I have a little bit more involved with, like
Same.
with Jen, because Jen, she's open, she's working through her stuff, she wants to be supportive of me having other partners. She is open to the idea of her having other partners, but like she doesn't really want to be super involved. So this refers to a relationship dynamic where the partners have minimal interaction or involvement with each other, with their metamors. So like each relationship is going to operate relatively independently, which you'll see that a lot with like hinge relationships. Yep. I'm usually a hinge. It's very rare that we are interested in the same person. So like we're probably not going to date them together. We're quite particular. So it's a very limited connection or communication. You may not even ever meet this person. Like if you're set up with your dynamic where you don't have to, that's fine. Jen is one of those people where like, I think she goes back and forth. She's like, I want to meet them, but I don't want to meet them. Like I want to know stuff, but I don't want to know stuff. Just cause she's like, I'm nosy, but like, I don't want to hurt myself.
Right. Exactly.
So that's fair. Yeah. So those are like the different kind of like metamor dynamics when it comes to having other partners themselves.
And I think like from my lens, I do feel like the dynamics that you have can sometimes relate to how much jealousy you've worked through. Yes. A lot of times when it comes to like metamor relationships. Like,
or also I think it can also attribute to like if you've had past relationship trauma that maybe you want to avoid again. So putting that in place so that you're avoiding having that happen again. I think that's fair because I mean, I can speak from experience there. My first experience having another partner, we tried to do the whole friend thing and hang out and it was a fucking shit show.
It was not good.
But that's because that person was also not doing anything ethically.
Right.
So, which I didn't know until later. Right. So it's one of those things. But I think it can be a combination. And then you have the dynamics of the direct relationship, which we'll get into on another episode, or may have already gotten into. I don't know which is coming first. But like the chart, the relationship chart, whether it's like hierarchical or what was the one that you always were talking about? Anarchist, relationship anarchist. Or it may be just like a free and clear, like free for all. Like there's a variety of different dynamics.
And these are relating to like the type of polyamory you follow for yourself. Versus the definitions Bridget just went over are your metamor relationships.
Driven. How you have relationships with other partners.
Right. So you can have a kitchen table polyamorous dynamic and an anarchist polyamorous dynamic at the same time.
Absolutely. So with all of those, like you said, it's about like jealousy. Sometimes it's your level of trust, your level of how you handle your emotions, and like how you cope or like what you know. But the thing is, it's all about understanding yourself within the relationship. So like I mentioned hierarchical and other ones, but there are some creators out there which I get this is not their dynamic, but that does not mean it's the wrong dynamic. And that kind of content irks me just a little bit because it's saying you're wrong for how you manage your relationship.
Right.
You're not wrong. There are some unethical ways to go about it. But I think if you're looking to go into like a polyamorous relationship and lifestyle and just like that's who you are, there are ways to be successful. And then the rest of it is how you need to build it based on you and your relationship with your other partner/partners. To be successful in my world is have open and honest communication with your other partner and or other partners, depending on the dynamic that you have decided upon with your partner, with maybe your nesting partner. You might not have a nesting partner. You may have multiple partners. Whatever you have decided on as a group that works for you.
Uphold those.
And even individually in those relationships, upholding those and having open, honest, transparent conversations about where you're at, what your needs are, all of that. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you won't know until you're in the moment and you go, ooh, I don't like that feeling. Yeah. We need to discuss this. And that's okay. Yeah. But you don't need to be taking it out on somebody because you felt a certain type of way
that you didn't expect.
Know that you would. Exactly. You don't get to take things out on people. You say, hey, can we have a conversation about this? Because this is where I was. And it's not that you made me feel that way. Nobody can make you feel anything. You just feel things. And it is up to you to manage that. Yeah. And that's where that jealousy play comes in.
Exactly.
Jealousy is so normal. It is a human fucking emotion and experience, and sometimes it really sucks and sometimes it's really fun.
I was gonna
and a little
say,
sexy.
it honestly, it's like it's not a negative emotion.
No.
Point blank. Like, I think that sometimes it can stem from negative things that you haven't processed,
maybe
as a human. Insecurities, past relationship trauma, maybe like an insecurity that makes you feel possessive, like you should own somebody, and that's the only way that like you can actually like make someone like you is like that ownership piece. But also jealousy can come from a feeling of like fear of loss, or like I don't have like as much time with my partner as I want. I see them spending time with somebody else. Like, I really want that time because I love them so much. I want to be around them. Like,
and
it's
that's
not
where that
always
communication
negative.
comes in.
Exactly.
Hey, like, I feel a certain type of way. Can we find a compromise? Relationships are all about compromise, my friends, whether you're in a polyamorous one or if you're a mango mouse. I've seen that as a new term, mango mouse for monogamous.
Mango mouse. It's appropriate. Yeah.
But like it compromise is just a given.
Yeah.
And you have to be really, really flexible with that compromise when you have multiple relationships going at the same time.
100%.
You're balancing a lot. It is not your job to balance everybody's emotions all the time, but it is your job to listen and work through things that work for everybody. Sometimes you might not be able to come to an agreement, and you got to figure out what that dynamic looks like moving forward, and if it's going to be a problem in the long term. And maybe you have to make some hard decisions. Yeah. And that's okay. It's hard. It's just part of the process. Yeah. So that's one thing about being successful. The other one is, which kind of plays into that, is being able to manage your emotions and finding coping mechanisms that work for you while also working for the relationship. Yep. It's give and take. And if you're somebody that realizes you have a really hard time coping, it may be time to seek a professional to help you find ways to cope.
I wouldn't suggest diving into polyamory without a poly-informed therapist.
Oh, boy.
I wouldn't suggest it, just because societally it isn't something that is like, most of us did not grow up with polyamorous parents or even know any poly people or see it on TV. Like, it's not something that like you learn about in society.
It's not super represented.
It's not represented. So a lot of times like people are feeling around in the dark when you first start out, and like, to the entire point of this episode, like, we're discussing jealousy and we're going to try to break it down. That is the overpowering and very fueling emotion behind a lot of things when you start out in a polyamorous relationship. And a lot of people, like, if you don't have that professional help, don't know what to do with all those feelings. And they end up taking them out on their partner, to your point before. Like, it's a natural human thing to do, to try to blame. Like, when we feel something, it's blaming either somebody else for what we feel, or also, like, I've had this happen in relationships too. Somebody blames themselves and they say, well, I'm not enough for you. Yeah. And that also is not right, because being with a polyamorous person does not mean that you're not enough. We don't see things on a...
It's not a black and white
It's not
level
a black... There's not a bucket. We don't see things as like, okay, there's a bucket that needs to be full, and then once it's full, we're done. A lot of people see things that way.
It's not a flaw. That's the thing, is a lot of people will be like, oh, I have this flaw that you don't like, therefore you want to go elsewhere. Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with that.
No, I can say, like, period, point blank, I'm in the happiest relationship of my entire life. This person that I'm with, that I'm married to, gives me everything I could ever ask for. I'm still fucking poly. Like, that doesn't change anything. Like, there's no person that I would be with that would make me not poly, because that's who I am, like, in my soul. And so I think that there's like this tendency, when people aren't super educated about like how to handle their emotions or about what polyamory means in general, to like either blame your partner or blame yourself or take out that jealousy on other people. And really, what you should do with that energy is like point it inwards and self-reflect on, why do I feel that level of inadequacy? Where is that threatening feeling coming from?
Can I heal it?
Can I heal it?
And if I can't, how can I put things in motion to allow myself to cope without harming others, without it projecting on anybody? Right. And that's where that professional comes in play. I love therapy.
That's where the therapist comes in. And like, honestly, like, polyamory is not for everybody.
It's hard.
It's very
It's not
hard.
easy. A lot of people, there's a stigma where they're like, oh, you do it because it's easier and it like allows you to like
Absolutely
quote unquote
not.
cheat. No, that's not what it's about. It's not even about sex half the time. It's just, it's hard. It's hard to manage. I've learned that about myself. Like I can only manage, we were just talking about this the other day. Like I know about myself is that I cannot manage more than 2 like full blown like romantic relationships
At a time.
At a time. It stretches me too thin. I have a really hard time with it. And like even one of my relationships right now romantically is very, very, very part-time because I don't see them all the time.
Yeah.
Like they don't have the time and the flexibility right now in their lives. That may change at some point.
Yeah.
But like that's good for me because I'm a busy person and I have my nesting partner and my wife that we have our relationship and we build that all out. And like everybody else is pretty casual. I would consider them like platonic friendships that are sometimes maybe physically intimate. Maybe.
Yeah.
Just depends on the day.
Which I was going to talk about too a little bit, like your dynamic in your relationships and with polyamory can shift depending on what's going on in your life. We've talked about this before. Not working through jealousy is not, in my opinion, a reason that you should shift your dynamic just because somebody is feeling a lot of jealousy.
Yeah.
I think it's fine to take things a little bit slower to work through those emotions. But like I made this mistake coming into my now relationship was I think I overpromised my level of like willingness to pull back from who I am in order to like work through someone else's like jealousy with them. Like I was kind of on their timeline.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
It didn't work for you.
It didn't work for me. Yeah. It didn't work for either of us, honestly.
Yeah.
And
because if you're not getting to be your most authentic self,
exactly, you're not going to be happy.
You're not giving 100% to where you're at. Like there's got to be a level of, again, compromise, having flexibility within it, having an open mind, listening, giving, receiving, all of that. So that's part of the like management of the jealousy. I think the other thing with it is setting boundaries. And when I say setting boundaries, I mean healthy boundaries. Not there. We're coming to a precipice in society and culture where polyamory is becoming a little bit more mainstream. You're hearing a little bit more about it. And people are saying, these are my boundaries. And they're using a term that therapists use that are like actual like therapy language. They're using therapy language as a control mechanism as opposed to like, what was it? Was it like Jonah Hill or something that was like, you can't wear bikinis because those are my boundaries. Like, what the fuck, bro?
Let me just say, boundaries are something that you set for yourself, not something that you set for other people. Yeah. You don't get to say you're setting a boundary when you're saying you have to do this because I want you to. Yeah.
I saw something online recently in a polyamorous community where they're like, their father, it wasn't even a relationship, like romantic relationship. Their father was like, you're upset at me because of how I voted. You have to explain it all to me because that's my boundary. And I was like, what? But
that's not a boundary.
What we're talking about. That's not a boundary. That's control.
That's control.
Like you have to give me what I need because I say so.
Right.
That's not a boundary.
An example of a boundary would be something like, like, let's use an example in a polyamorous relationship, maybe. You could say, like, for another partner of yours, you can say, please don't text me while I'm with this other partner because it's disruptive to my dynamic with them. If you do, I'm going to have to put my phone on, like, do not disturb or something like that. Like, it's something that very much is, like,
unless it's an emergency.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
it's not something that like you do to control somebody else. It's something that like is inward focused. And it usually is like anybody can do anything they want, but it's like how am I going to react to that is where my boundary comes in.
Yes.
Like maybe my boundary is I don't want to be in a polyamorous relationship. That doesn't mean that somebody has to stop being poly. That just means like I can't be with them.
Doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
A boundary is something you uphold for yourself, not something that you ask other people to uphold.
Like, I have a very standard one in relationships, regardless of the type of relationship it is. And mine is, I don't want you going through my phone.
That's your private property.
It is my private property. I don't want you going through my phone. I have multiple reasons for that as well. One, I don't want you going through my phone and seeing something that you don't want to see if I'm in a relationship with somebody else that maybe upsets you. So I'm trying to protect you partially.
Don't hurt your own feelings.
Don't hurt your own feelings.
Yeah.
2, phones these days also have like all of your banking information and a lot of private stuff. And I have like lists of gift ideas or plans that I'm making for people. Like I don't want that to like get ruined. And then 3, I have a little bit of trauma surrounding privacy because I grew up with a mother who didn't allow that.
Right.
If I had a journal, it got read. I don't journal to this day because of that.
Right.
Because my mother and my sister would take it and read it. I used to plant fake fucking journals for my sister because she was an ass and would like go read them. And then would be like, I'm going to tell mom. There was a period of time where she would come and she'd take my phone and my mom would read through every single text that I ever sent to anybody. And like, I never talked about my romantic relationships with people because it was used against me. So like, I don't like people to touch my shit. Do you have my passcode? Sure. You absolutely have my passcode because to me, in an emergency, you can get in, you can get the information that you need. That's
You're
fine.
saying don't go snooping through my phone.
Don't go snooping. If there is something that is bothering you and you want to know, ask.
Yeah. And I think that's where I was going to kind of take things next is like, I want to preface all of this by saying like, just 101 guide on how to set up these like dynamics between you and somebody else, like how to set up your boundaries, how to talk about jealousy. Like a big thing for me and my wife and like me and any partner I've been with that's poly is like having check-ins. Like those are really huge because that's where you discuss boundaries. That's where you discuss jealousy. And we found that like it's a lot better to do that in person and have like an established time to do it versus like bringing it up in the moment when somebody's at work or somebody's doing this or somebody's like distracted or not in the right headspace.
No, have like planned ones.
Have
like,
a planned check-in.
Once a month, the third Sunday of every month, we have dinner together, like we cook together, we enjoy our time, we tell each other how much like something that we love about one another, and we sit down and we talk about how we're feeling and where we're at with everything. And that's a very healthy way to do it. Some people need a little bit of a mediated one. That's why like I'm a big advocate for like couples therapy and like doing check-ins whether you're in a good place or not. It's established and you have somebody that can guide the conversation if it gets derailed. If you have a lot of emotions about something that's going on, and that's okay. I like that.
I think it's just one thing that I've like also found is like I tend to, and I think a lot of people that grew up in like emotionally abusive households do this, but you tend to like pull back on how you actually feel so as not to trigger jealousy or negative emotions in another person. And ultimately, especially when you're polyamorous or exploring like any type of open dynamic, that is going to be hurtful for you in your relationship and hurtful to your partner because number one, you're not being true to yourself. And like, I've made that mistake even in the relationship I'm in now. So this is like, I'm saying it out loud. I'm preaching to myself too, but it's like
big same.
Being honest with what you want and what you desire and like what you need, regardless of how it's going to make somebody else feel, is really fucking hard. Especially when you love that person so much. Like you love them, you would never want to like cause them pain or harm.
Anything. Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day, the best thing you can ever do for your relationship is just be blatantly honest with like what you want, what you need, what's going on. And like, obviously there are caveats to that. If your partner doesn't want to know, like if you guys like have a, you know, an established dynamic where like they don't want to know certain things, then don't like go in and tell them. But like, I'm saying like in a normal dynamic where like you're discussing these things, say the hard things. Yeah. Like the hard things are what prompt the conversations where like you can get deep enough to actually work through the underlying issues that are causing the surface level problems.
And figure out something that maybe works for both of you and then everybody's happy. Yeah. Like it gets so much worse and gets so much harder when you hold shit in. Literally. Or you make somebody I can't with you. Or like when you, or if you make somebody like try to dig it out of you. Yeah. Like it's so much more frustrating. Like if you can just be like, okay, I'm feeling this. Even saying that in the moment, you can be like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I don't have the details surrounding it yet. Like I need to sit with it, but can we please do a check-in later when I've kind of like figured that out? That's helpful. Yeah. That's so helpful. Yeah. In the moment. I know Jen, like, she'll have moments where she's just like, I feel this way, but like, I don't know. Cause I'm like, is there a solution? Like, is there something that we can come to terms of, like, anything, like, what would be the ideal scenario? Does that work for me? Or can we find somewhere in the middle? That
compromise
like,
is a big part of it.
Oh,
I will just caveat that
enough.
by saying, like, compromise of things that, like, you're willing to compromise on.
Not compromising your values.
Not compromising who you are.
Yeah, nor who you are. It's about finding, like, the middle ground that works for all parties.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to have a discussion about things that you're, like, this is something you guys probably did too, but we did, like, an exercise in therapy one time where we put things in one category that we were willing to compromise on or maybe meet in the middle on.
Oh, we did this.
Dr. Scott. Shout out. And then things that we weren't.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to, like, come together as a couple on those things and, like, really line them up and make sure you're on the same page, like, early as you can in the relationship, because sometimes there will be non-negotiables that are conflicting with each other, and, like, you might not be compatible with somebody, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to not be compatible, but, like, if 9 times out of 10, like, these are things you can work through.
You also might surprise yourself. There were things on ours that we were like, wait, you're, like, flexible with that? Oh, okay, great. Like, let's talk about it.
Yep, exactly.
We hadn't even thought to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's really great. Also, part of the compromise and setting boundaries and stuff like that, especially if you are in a polyamorous dynamic that is a polycule setting where there's multiple relationships involved, especially, like, hinge ones.
Yeah.
That's where you can get into muddy water a little bit, depending on those dynamics and the ethics surrounding them. And that's coming from a place of, like, my original, my OG polyamorous relationship. Because, like, we tried to do, not necessarily lap sitting. I was like, man, I would really love kitchen table.
You would love it, yeah.
I would love kitchen table. Like, that is the most ideal thing to me.
Been there.
That is the most ideal thing to me.
Yeah.
We don't have to live together. Some people do. Like, in that dynamic, they all live together and they literally hang out and they, like, that's their thing. They all have their own separate rooms and that's that. And it works for them and it's beautiful. And I was like, man, like, in a perfect world, that would be for me. That doesn't necessarily mean it works for the relationship I already had established with my wife. And we tried that. They were both forcing it simply because they care about me and they knew that that's something that I wanted, which, like, at that time, they were also both not very good at discussing and communicating their needs and their emotions. Well,
this was the cowgirl situation, right?
Yes. And they were trying to set their emotions aside for that kind of stuff to be buddies. And the thing is, in another world, they may have been friends. Maybe. In another scenario, they may have been friends. Maybe. But the problem there was that I had a partner that said they were comfortable with a polyamorous relationship, but had an expectation in their mind that I would eventually decide that they were the one I wanted to be with, which is what we talk about, like, cowgirling or cowboying or cowthaying.
Been there.
And this is where we get into that. And so, like, for those of you who don't know this term, I'm going to say cowgirling because I was dating another woman. Cowgirling is when you have a partner that is quite literally trying to lasso you and pull you away from the other partner. Like, literally steal you away. Like, rope you in and pull you away. That's the cowgirling. That's what it is. And that's what was going on. And the thing is, like, I didn't know. Like, they never expressed this to me, that they wanted to be just with me. Or they kind of mentioned, they were like, oh, if things didn't work out, like, yeah, like, I'm all in. Like, we'd be together, kind of thing like that. And that's, like, a common thing that people have said to me. But at the same time, I was very clear and open, like, this is what I can give. This is what my relationship is. This is what my dynamic is. These are the boundaries that I have set, yada, yada, yada. The problem there is that she had, one, kind of set this expectation in her mind that that's where we get to. It started out as a long distance relationship. And she also had this expectation that if she moved closer, I would be giving her more time than I had already said that I could establish, which I made adjustments with Jen. It was really, really tough on her, but she was open to it because the person did live closer and I wanted to spend time with them. So, like, it would make sense that I'd give them a little bit more time, except giving an inch turned into them wanting a mile. Yep. And them being upset that, like, I wouldn't come spend, like, and it was, like, that was hard for me. Like, living in two separate places all the time. Like, I was giving that person weekends. essentially like every other weekend I was there. And sometimes it would be like another day, or like we'd add a day in the week for like dinner or something like that. And that, like, I was like, that works for me and that works for her. But this person also had a lot of issues that they were not working through on their own. They were not managing their jealousy. They were not managing their emotions. They were not managing their mental health well at all during this time frame. They just weren't doing any of it. And on top of it, the boundaries that we had sat down and established, which were honestly, mine are pretty like minor. I'm like, if you start talking to someone else, let me know.
Pretty basic shit.
Pretty basic. Like, let me know.
You just basically were saying, I don't want to, don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. And if you start sleeping with somebody else, please let me know so we can incorporate sexual health, because I don't want to, like, I'm not saying I don't trust you, but I don't necessarily trust other people. If they cheat on you and they bring something to you and then you bring it to me and then I bring it to my wife, I'm going to be pretty pissed off that you didn't talk to me about it.
Which, by the way, is a very 101 standard practice in the polyamory world. Like, that's why don't ask, don't tells are like not really, they're kind of frowned upon because of the sexual health aspect of it.
If you are fluid bonding at all, you need to be open with your other partners to let them know so that they can make an active choice to go test and like implement safe sex practices if that wasn't already established. It's just common human decency. Like, don't be a jerk about it. Like, just be like, yeah, like, that's part of the dynamic. I want to make sure you're safe.
Yeah.
Because I care about you.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem, is that ethically, I was doing it. She was not. I later found out that she was sleeping around with all kinds of people during that relationship and like wasn't telling me. But like there was a time where she all of a sudden was on like Tinder and a bunch of dating apps.
Crazy.
And I found out through another party.
Crazy.
And I was like, why didn't you just tell me? Like, literally, polyamory, like, I'm fine with it if you want to go talk to people, but like, I want to be able to emotionally prepare myself for you dating other people, for you potentially establishing a nesting partner. And then we have to talk about the dynamic of, I don't have you over in my space with my wife. Does that mean I'm no longer able to come there?
You need to talk about 1,000 different things.
There's a million things. And it's setting new boundaries based on a dynamic shift and a new relationship and what that looks like.
Right.
So it was like,
well, she sounded like she didn't have good communication skills, which at the end of the day, I feel like that's what we're trying to preach is like communication.
This person ended up not being anything that they said they were.
Yeah.
They couldn't do polyamory. That was not for them. They were obviously a very monogamous person. They had these expectations of monogamy. They could not openly communicate. They decided that cheating was an easier route than just having a fucking conversation, which I was like, you're literally doing the exact opposite of what I'm okay with. Like, that if you know me, don't ask for forgiveness. And it's not about asking for permission. Just fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Just let me know so we can reestablish some things and I can prep myself.
Yeah.
Because I have to manage my emotions too. And I'm going to react far more viscerally if I find out that you're fucking somebody else and I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah.
And it's going to hit me like a ton of bricks.
Right.
It's okay that you're fucking somebody else. It's not about you like, when we had that conversation, she put it all back on me. It was all like, well, you're reacting how I thought you would. And I'm like, if you had just come to me, and I'd already established
gaslighting of it all.
The gaslighting was insane because I'd already established, I want you to come talk to me. If you start talking to, like, if you think that it's turning into something more than just a platonic friendship, I'd kind of like to know. I don't care about what else you do. I don't need to know the rest. I just want to know that you have maybe romantic interest. And if you start being physically intimate, there are medical things that I'd like to make sure I take care of.
Right.
Of course, after that relationship, when I found out what I found out, I was like, testing. Yeah. Mind you, I'm the kind of person that like, I like to test every 6 months anyways.
Yeah.
Just whether I'm like being physically intimate or not, just because like I'm weird about it. Like, I like to test regularly. Yeah. Because I think that's just standard, and things can also pop up later that maybe didn't show up the first time.
Exactly. So, like, it's just a good sexual health practice. Yeah. But yeah,
the cowgirling thing you kind of went through, but like it was like quiet cowgirling.
It was quiet.
It's like quiet quitting.
it was literally like, it was something I did. Quiet quitting. Yeah. God, it was something that I didn't know what the fuck was happening when it was happening. Yeah. I just knew something was wrong. And I was like,
it's just off.
I feel like this person is not respecting my other partner. I feel like they're trying to like, they were being like passive aggressive towards them a lot. Like, to me, like, they didn't really have a relationship. They were constantly being like condescending towards them. and like
putting them
almost
down.
like infantilizing them in some way. And like, I hated that. Like I did not like it. And I addressed it with them directly. And I was like, I don't like this. Like this makes me not want to be with you, not want to be with them.
Yeah.
And
it's doing the opposite effect that I think you're
it's
maybe
giving me the ick.
And the thing is, I wonder if maybe they didn't have the intention.
They didn't
of that.
I think it was because they weren't managing their jealousy or communicating to me about it. Like I didn't know that they were feeling the feelings of jealousy about me and my primary that they were having until the relationship was like almost over. And like I had to have several conversations. They had already done the damage. And like by the time it was over, I had emotionally disconnected so much from this person because I felt like I tried to communicate with them over and over and over about something that like was not getting through.
Yeah.
And then I also felt like they were very much trying to like literally steal me away from, at this point, the person I was married to. Like I didn't like that. I didn't go into the dynamic being like, well, I'll eventually choose you over them. Like, that's not what polyamory is about. And like, I didn't think that was their intention either. Mm-hmm. But I think it was because they were feeling a lot of things that weren't being expressed, and they were feeling a lot of desires that they didn't expect to come up like with me in a relationship. And then, you know, realizing that like my wife was going to be my primary and stay my primary,
and
like hit harder than I think they expected it to. And so they had a lot of unexpected emotions around it, which I give them total grace for. I think where I ended up like being was just that like I didn't feel like any of it was communicated to me. So I was left in the dark. And like at the time I also was like dealing with a lot of family things.
Going through shit.
So so I was like, I actually
you could not deal with that on top of it. You needed like the clearest communication during that time.
I needed it to be crystal clear.
No other option.
And I needed to feel like during that time especially, because I was feeling an overwhelming sense of just like bondedness and respect and like love for my wife because of how much they supported me like through this. Any type of comments that were like negative from anybody about them, I was immediately like, fuck no, cut it off. Yeah, I was very defensive of everything related to them because I'm like, you don't get to talk badly about them. Mm-hmm. Like they are literally my everything. So
they also like, that was my thing is I made that very clear. Like I'll be honest, Jen went through that period where she would say things. She would even say things to me that like made me feel really fucking bad.
Yeah.
And we worked through that and she's apologized for it and it's way better now. Yeah. But like jealousy, insecurities make people react in weird ways
that you're not expecting,
sometimes really ugly ways,
which it's not about necessarily how you react, it's about how you work through it with somebody after the reaction. Like at least that's what I care about. I expect for somebody to have unexpected negative emotional reactions to things and potentially blow up or pull away or whatever. But it's like,
the thing is,
how do you communicate?
Not to be reactive to the reaction. It's try to see the reaction for what it is and go, okay, let's boil this down and see where this is coming from.
Which is exactly what I did.
I need to be shifting or if this is a you issue and what we can do to help you work through it.
Yes.
As a couple.
And that's what I did in my dynamic. And it did not... I was met with almost like I already told you once that like I was upset about this. So like, I don't really know what you want to hear from me. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not us working through it together.
Yeah. The thing is, telling me you're upset about it is one thing, but like, did we establish a solution? No. Are you still feeling this way?
Yes.
After we established a solution?
And I did not know they were still feeling this way.
If you're still feeling that way.
Yeah.
Or it's something that you really need to work through because it's not a me problem.
Right. And the difference is because with this person, my wife was feeling a lot of jealousy about them too. Yeah. A lot of jealousy. And so there were a lot of emotions. But the difference is my wife was coming to me and talking to me about everything they were feeling. They were communicating everything. They were saying, I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way, I feel this way. And like we talked about it. And that's what made that relationship withstand that period of time. So
strong too.
And it made it even stronger coming out of it. Like we literally established a bond during that time that like will never be broken.
Yeah.
Like nobody will get between this. And I felt very much like okay, I'm sensing the same feelings from both people and they're reacting very differently and communicating very differently. Like, what do I want ultimately?
Yeah.
And
ours came after the fact. Because, like, I went through that period where I had neither of them communicating well, and it was very reactive, and I was managing a lot of people's emotions that were not my own. And I say that I talk about polyamorous burnout. Like,
you probably were.
I
Absolutely
experienced that to the nth degree. If I wasn't with one, I was with the other.
Yeah.
I got no time for myself. I am somebody who needs, requires time to myself to recharge and just sit in fucking silence and do things that, but like, it's not even an introvert thing. It's just for me, like, my wife knows this. There are times where I'm just like, please leave. Please leave, or I'm going to go and I'll be gone for the next 4 hours and I'm going to get coffee and go to the bookstore and Target and I'm going to walk around and I just want to do it by myself. Love you, bye. And that's fine. But like, I was managing the emotions on both sides. It was not going well. Keep in mind, neither of these people were either in therapy or had ever been in therapy in some cases. So like, there are a lot of other factors that were probably going through, but the jealousy on both sides, the expectation, also the protectiveness. So like on Jen's side, she was like, I don't want this person hurting you. And I feel like they're not doing the best. I feel that my wife was the same way. But I don't want to speak negatively on them because that upsets you. And it's also not my place because I don't know your relationship. Like, I'm not in it. Like, that was the thing. And then I had the other side where it was just like, you're always making me feel like this. And I feel less than. And I feel like second choice and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And on and on and on and on and on. And me trying to constantly give and give and give and give to the point where I was giving too much. And it was harming my marriage. Well, not marriage. We weren't married at that point. But get my drift. My relationship. And it got so burnt out to the point where that relationship ended. And I opened that door. I've talked about it where I was like, it is clear to me that you are struggling with this. Do you need to walk? Will it hurt me? Yes. But if you are making a choice because that's what you need and it makes you happier, I love you enough to say goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah. It will hurt the shit out of me because I really, like, I was all in on this person. Mind you, now, hindsight, 2020, and also learning what I've learned about that person and like the lies that they told, I'm like, ooh, bullet dodged. But I was mentally in such a bad place at the end of that relationship. And Jen and I went through a period where she was like, I don't know how to support you because I know you don't want to talk about like the negative things and how you're feeling with me, but like you need to go talk to somebody. So I did. I started therapy and I was talking to a therapist there. And, but like, I remember saying things like, I don't think I'm ever going to want to date like somebody full time again. Yeah. Which that was in hurt Brigitte mode. Like I have since surpassed that. And I've said that too. And I also, but like, of course, it was also the wrong thing to say. Yeah. Because my wife then was like, oh, like we're back to monogamy. And like, but I was like, no, like that's not what I want. I still want the polyamory, but like, I've got to figure out what is right for me. And also it's going to be about like the person and who I connect with. Like I went into it a second time around when I was like, I'm ready to go, was when Jen was like, oh, fuck, like we're not doing monogamy, which I thought I'd been pretty clear about. But she had, again, an expectation that that's where we were going because I didn't want to romantically date anybody. Yeah. And then it turned into the I'm not enough because you want physical X, Y, and Z. Right. And that is when we started doing the couples counseling and therapy. And she started seeing a therapist. And like we did the work. And now I feel like communication wise, we're in the best space that we ever could have been. But it went through a lot of fucking turmoil to get there. Yeah. So, like, as long as you're willing to work with the person. Which, yeah, I feel like we should say, like, to that point, like, we're being vulnerable right now talking about our personal challenges with polyamory. But, like, this is not to scare anybody off. It's to give you guys perspective on the fact that, like, you're human. It's not easy. We're all human. We all feel things. And, like, to be very frank with you, I've been in a monogamous relationship that was tumultuous, more tumultuous, like more tumultuous than any poly relationship dynamic I've ever been in. It's not about the relationship dynamic. It's about the 2 people in the relationship, with the 3 people in the relationship, the 4 people, however many partners.
the trauma that they have, the insecurities that they have, the preconceived notions that they have, the desires that they have, how all of those things work together and how you communicate about them. Like, that's literally what it boils down to.
Working on yourself to be the best version, not only for yourself, but for your relationship.
Yeah.
It's about yourself. If you're the best version of yourself, you're going to go in and be a better partner.
Yeah.
Period. But also being able to work with each other and hear, like, actually hear someone.
Yeah.
Not just be like, I'm listening, but actually hearing what they're saying. There's a difference between listening and hearing.
Yeah.
A big one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really big piece of it. But
one last thing I want to mention, because we just got really serious, but like, I said we wouldn't get that serious. We did. I will also say, for me personally, this might not be everyone's experience, but like, we were talking about this before we started recording, how jealousy can add like just a little bit of spice to your relationship. Like the kind of like the desire that jealousy fuels. Cause like when you feel jealous, you're feeling desire. You're also feeling that. It's an underlying emotion behind jealousy. You're wanting your partner more. You're feeling the desire to like pull them in because of whatever other emotions. Like, you can fuel that and like channel that into your relationship to make it better. Yeah. Swear to God, I've done it multiple times. Like, it is actually something you can use if you're communicating about it the right way. Yeah. And if you're doing it in a healthy way. Like, there can be a healthy level of like possessiveness being sexy and jealousy being sexy in the relationship. Exactly.
Not too much. Not too much. I like a touch it. So like, for instance,
there's a kink aspect to that.
Oh yeah. For instance, my other partner, the farmer that I have, she is somebody who is self-proclaimed like not very jealous. Like she doesn't. Like she's very chill. Like, you do you, boo. Like that's her thing. But we've talked about it, and she was like, you give me like a twinge of that possessiveness a little bit more than others I've been with. And I'm like, cool, love that. And she's like, it's not that I'm jealous, but like, if we're out at a bar and you're talking to people and somebody's like bugging you a little bit more than I'd like I'm going to make it clear that you're mine. Like, and I'm like, oh, I love that.
Well, we love the ownership thing.
The ownership,
like,
but also she's like, but if you're actually genuinely interested in them, like, I'm not gonna be bugging about it. Like, go.
Do you?
But like, if they're bugging you and like, you're kind of like, but like they're flirting with you and you're flirting back, but like you're kind of like, nah, I don't really want that. Like, I'll come step in. Yeah. I'll make it clear. And I'm like, I love that. That's great.
We love a good balance. And I think, and it's how you like talk about those things. Cause it's like, some people that would be very triggering for them. Some people love it. Like, again, how do you use the emotions you're feeling to make your relationship stronger? Yeah. That's what it boils down to. So, yeah.
But you don't get to tell people who they can and can't talk to. Like we said earlier, don't set boundaries that are like...
That's weird.
Control.
The longer I've been out of like the monogamous world, the weirder I realize it is that we have full-blown adults on a day-to-day basis feeling normal, telling other adults what they should do with their lives and with their bodies.
Yeah. Like one of your TikToks
That's
that blew
fucking
up.
weird. Exactly.
It was like a friendly, fun thing, and everybody was like...
Yeah, which, don't say too much, that's my spicy trauma.
Blah. Yeah. But just like, people are crazy.
Yeah.
People are fucking wild.
Literally insane.
Also, to have the audacity to be like, this is exactly what it is, without knowing anything about the people, the dynamic, the friend group, anything.
Yeah.
Nada.
Insane how much audacity people have, and also how much they project onto other people.
And it's jealousy and insecurities and stuff like that they project.
I'm like, I'm so sorry that you're insecure. I'm not.
I do feel for people that have that, because it's got to be really hard to be. It's got to
be hard.
A brain like that. Like, I
but
get
don't
it.
Like
I have
spew it all over the internet.
Insecurities, but like, I don't want to. I don't like to project them on other people. I know that they're mine to fucking figure out. Yeah. And I'm human. There are going to be moments where I fuck up and I say the wrong thing, or I put it on someone, and usually I'm pretty good about being like, hey, that was unfair.
I'm sorry.
I will work harder to do better in the future, and I'm sorry. And that's okay too.
Yeah, it's okay to apologize.
Yeah. I know that's hard for some of you, but learning. We're learning things.
I actually like apologizing.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's good.
It makes me
feel, if you fucked up?
Yeah, it makes me feel connected to whatever person I'm talking to.
Yeah. As long as you genuinely mean it.
I do. Yeah.
An apology is not, I'm sorry, but.
No.
Ever.
Ever. Here's the thing with me. If I don't feel like apologizing, or if I don't feel it, I won't. Yeah. So if you're ever getting an I'm sorry from me, like, I mean it. Yep. If you're not, I think you're wrong.
Well, there you go. There's Beth.
That's just me being a Gemini.
That was good. We did get a little deep on that, but I feel like
We did.
I feel like we kind of needed to, and we've had some personal experiences that
We need to share.
we needed to talk about. Because,
Again, this is trauma bondage, you guys.
and it's the real. Like
we're trauma bonding with you.
Everything's going to be different.
Yeah.
You're going to have different experiences. There are some great groups where you can talk about that. Like I have some groups where they're like, hey, this is a scenario that I just went through recently. They posted anonymously. I just want like feedback. I don't want negative. I don't want your opinions based on things that you don't know about. I just want to get a perspective. So like, am I being an asshole, or am I in my head about my own insecurities? Am I the person that's being a problem, or like, is this an actual issue or a red flag that I need to address? And like, what's some advice on how to do that? There's some great groups for that I'm a part of, like on Facebook. That are wonderful. So
it's good.
Yeah.
Well,
it's time for Spicy Trauma.
Each week we like to wrap up with our spicy trauma.
Tell us your spicy trauma. DM us or use the link in our bio to share your story.
You already know.
Tell me things. I do already know.
You already know what this is, but for the beautiful listener and viewers that we have who may not have seen the saga unfolds. So I have a wife, as you guys know.
What?
Crazy. And I also have a very close friend group, and we all are very just like open with each other and free. Half of us are poly or open. Half of us are single. Like, it's just a group full of like, it's a sex positive group full of like women and non-binary people who are just very comfortable with each other.
We're all about consent.
Yes.
It's very close female relationships that are not messy.
Not at all. We cut out the mess this year.
Yeah.
And last year.
It
We're
bled
done.
into this year.
Anyways, we
like
we
so
are
supportive.
super tight knit.
Love it.
Very respectful of boundaries and other relationships and feelings and all of that.
We
so
want to uplift each other.
All of that to be said,
Yeah.
Nobody is like insecure about anyone else in the dynamic interacting with each other. Like, it's just like a cool group of people that like love each other. So we're having your birthday party.
Yeah.
And my wife and one of my more masculine friends and her wife were there. And my wife and we'll just call them Hair Daddy, because that's what they are.
Yeah, Hair Daddy.
My wife and Hair Daddy have like a jokey, like sexual tension relationship. It's like one of those that's like, unless, it's one of those vibes. And they like flirt with each other all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching it.
It's very fun.
Personally, for
me.
We
all have a great time. It's like a show.
It's a literal show. I love watching it. I think it's so funny.
And I think a majority of the time it's like playful banter. Like, it's funny.
It is. It's playful banter. It's like maybe 5% of the time, like kind of serious. And like also it's like, even if it is a little serious, it's also not at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, exactly. It's like, it's not
like
that
if something
deep.
happened, okay. And if it didn't, nobody cares.
And also if something happened, like it would still not be that deep.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Yeah. So
most
anyways,
shallow pool you could be in.
Most shallow pool. Yeah. We love these people. Like, they're amazing. Yes. So I am in the kitchen. Hair Daddy comes in and tells us that she grabbed my wife by the throat and poured a shot.
Yeah.
In their mouth. And I was like, what the fuck, without me? Like, I want to see that.
I need a video.
Like, I'm a voyeur. I want to see that.
Yeah.
So my wife comes in, and Hair Daddy's actually doing said thing to Bridget.
Yeah.
Because Bridget heard about it and was
I was like, I want that. It's my birthday, damn it. Give me my gift. Like, dom me now. I love you. And again, it's not serious. Like, it's just fun.
No.
Like,
it's everyone's wives are there too. Like, Hair Daddy's wife is there. Your wife is there.
We're all watching.
My wife
We're
is there.
videoing. It's fun. It's
fine.
a good time.
So then my wife comes back in and is like, she did that shit to me earlier. I was like, I know. And I'm going to ask her to do it again so I can watch. So my wife walks over begrudgingly, because my wife does not like being dommed or topped, unlike Bridget. And lets Hair Daddy do said thing to them again. Grab their throat.
the difference there is height too. Is that like it's so fun to watch.
So
Hair Daddy
cute.
is so tall, and your wife is so not.
So not. No. Very average 5'5" versus like 6 foot.
Yeah.
So the dynamic was just like funny. So Hair Daddy's wife films it.
Yeah.
Because she's like loving it as much as we are. We're all laughing, we're cheering, whatever. Films it, sends me the video. The next day, I'm like,
Let's post this shit.
I'm going to post this on TikTok, and like, I think that this would be funny. And I put the caption as, when you watch your wife with their mask bestie and realize you can cut their sexual tension with a knife.
Yeah.
Because
LOL.
the moment was hot. Like, it
LOL,
was, yeah,
LOL.
LOL. But it was also like funny as fuck. And like, I'm the wife posting it. The other wife recorded it.
Yeah.
We're all surrounded by our friend group. I'm poly. My wife is poly. Hair Daddy and wife are not, but like they're very open people.
Yeah.
And so like everyone was just cool.
Open, non-judgmental.
I thought it was
cool
funny.
People.
Y'all, we went fucking viral on TikTok. We're up to like 3.3 million views on this goddamn video now.
Insane.
And the comments are insane.
Well, there's a very big
It's a
divide.
split.
There's so many
50%.
people that are like, hell yes, why is this video 6 hours long?
Yeah.
like
I need a mask bestie. Like, I'm going to leave my husband.
or coming to the defense and being like, you don't know their dynamic of
Yeah.
the other side.
Right.
God.
The other side comes in, and the number 3 comments we get, that's not your wife anymore. That's her wife. And I'm like, y'all are literally copying and pasting the same comment. Like, I need some creativity up in here, please. God damn it, please. The second one is very abusive language. Like, oh, I would kill my partner if they did this.
like-
They would be 6 feet under if they did this. I would
Yeah.
never stand for this. Like, I would be throwing hands, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, all of you need to be on a fucking list because that's crazy. And then the third comment is like, bestie, let me hold your hand while I tell you this, as if like there's something
They're
going
cheating.
on that like,
Yeah.
I don't know, or like, you can tell they're cheating.
Insinuation that they were just like cheating going on.
Yeah.
Or that like,
Or
the
they fucked
relationship
before.
was really like unhealthy.
Yeah.
And that like you guys are just like too dense to see it.
Yeah.
Or just
They're treating me like I'm like dumb and not seeing this. And I'm like, no, bitches, the reason I posted it is because I see it for exactly what it is. And because I'm also the one who's married to the person it's happening to. Like,
And
if my
also-
wife wanted to fuck Hair Daddy,
Yeah.
they would tell me and I would be like, hell yeah. Like, let me
Yeah.
get my popcorn.
It's like, one, you clearly don't know me
Clearly.
or my relationship or my friends. But also,
None
that
of the
tells
above.
me that you're never invited.
I literally was like, I can tell by the comments who's fun at parties. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you bitches are boring.
I think I went in and I was like, we can tell who's invited to the next party and who's never coming. Because like, y'all can leave.
Also, one of our other friends commented and said, if you guys saw what we didn't record.
Oh.
Because like there's some shit that like happens that I'm like, I won't even say it on the podcast, but I'm like,
We're just that close, guys. We love
super,
each other
super close.
in a gay,
TikTok
non-gay
could never
way.
handle it. Could never handle it. So it was super spicy, but also the comments were like giving me secondhand trauma from these other people's insecurities. I'm like, why are y'all so insecure?
Genuinely concerned about some of these people's
Genuinely.
relationships too. I'm like, are you okay?
Also, like,
blink
the-
twice if you need to be rescued.
The straight women, like, can I just say, need to get laid so bad? Because like, if this is sending you into a spiral, if a 6-second video is something that's like enough to make you spiral that way, like, I'm so sorry for the sex you're having because it's clearly not good. Please
God.
leave your husband. Anyways, that's my spicy trauma.
People be
My
wild
shirt
out
came
here.
untied.
Oh. Ooh.
Ooh.
Whoopsh. Not that kind of show.
No.
Mine's pretty mild. It's always these damn men. They just keep
Yeah, yours
doing
is
stuff.
always...
Well, I don't know what it is about me. I really do try to look
It's
as
the
gay as
titties.
possible. I think it is.
I think it is.
I think a big part of it is titties and my personality
Yeah.
when I'm talking to people because like I'm very open. I'll talk about whatever. I have a lot of interests and a lot of my interests sometimes fall into like male, I'm going to quote unquote male
Mhm. interests.
interests. There are no interests that are boy interests. Like get over
Yeah.
yourself. But like a lot of guys also like, you know, video games and Lord of the Rings and sports and like and I like all of that and I can talk about it well.
Yeah.
In most cases. And I'm kind of a nerd and I show that I'm a nerd because I'm not like I have to be cool. I have to be mysterious.
Yeah.
Because I need you to like me. Like, I'm not doing that. And I think that they're like, ooh, a girl that's not like the others. Like, kind of shit like that, right? And they just latch on. It's not all of them, but like, there are some, for whatever reason, that I attract that are in that. So we were in Jamaica for one of Jen's good friends' weddings. And it's all his friend group, which are all super cool. And a lot of them are also very, like, sexually open. And, like, they're kind of like our group, but they are a more, like, hetero, queer melting pot of, like, really nerdy, like, finance tech people that all play games and all read sci-fi. And, like, they're just a bunch of nerds.
Picking up on the vibe.
Like, they're cool as fuck. And I really like them. They're fun people. So we're all having a great time in Jamaica this week for this wedding. And and there were several nights. And we get into talking about the podcast because you and I had just started talking about, like, building out the podcast. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's like this. And I'm polyamorous and blah, 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 blah. And we get into this point one night where we're all drunk and we're all joking about, like, orgies and threesomes and everything. Like, it's a joke. Like, everybody else gets it's a joke. Except for this guy.
You?
No, this guy. Just a guy.
This guy.
Dude. The man that I'm talking about. Which just so happens to be Jen's friend who's getting married, his brother.
It's always someone's fucking brother.
It's his brother. Also, keep in mind that this friend of Jen's was, like, in love with her for years. To the point where he still has, like, pictures of them on his phone that he'll, like, show anybody.
I
and
always
be like,
question men who are, like,
children.
in love with masked lesbians.
He dabbles. That's a whole other thing. But, like, it's just kind of funny. So his brother, we're all having these jokes. And, like, it's also, like, the other girls in the group. And they're like, haha, yeah, that'd be so funny if we all, like, went back to the room together. And like, it'd be so fun. Like, it's just a joke. And even Jen's in on the joke. Like, she normally doesn't joke too much about that kind of stuff, but she's just like, haha, because it's so obvious that we're not serious and this is not going to happen, y'all. Like, none of us are interested in each other. This man, we wrap up the night and he proceeds to walk all the way down the dock of the resort. He is on one end of the resort. We're on the other end of the resort. He walks all the way down with us and we're all just chatting. Like, it's all chill, blah, blah, blah. And we get to the room and he's like, okay, so, like, yeah. Which for me, I'm just kind of like, oh boy, like, here we go. Jennifer's face.
She was like, oh no.
She was like, she's also never had this proposition. Like, I'm used to this proposition. She is not, because she's, like, a sweet baby angel, wholesome person
wouldn't expect
who's only ever been with women and, like, is very masculine presenting. So, like, men don't hit on her. Like, and she's fine with that. Like, so we get there and she, like, looks at me and she's like,
whose fucking brother is this?
It's like that Jennifer Lawrence meme. They're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Like that was the moment. And of course I was like, oh, like, you thought we were serious? Like, I had to have a moment. Yikes. And I was like, no, like, I think we're gonna go to bed. Like, we're good. But thanks.
Thank you, but no thanks.
So, of course, like, for the rest of the week, he's like, I think he was just really embarrassed by it because, like, everybody else, and I think other people, because we had told Jen's friend, we were like, hey, like, this happened last night. And I think he tore the mickey out of him as his brother, being like, you're a fucking idiot, bro. What the fuck were you thinking? Like, and, like, and of course their friend group is so close that they talk. So, like, everybody was kind of, like, making fun of him. But he got, it was fine. Like, he's actually pretty chill. But we didn't see him for, like, years. And he wasn't at there was a Christmas party we went to, and he wasn't at the Christmas party. And it got brought up again because that was, like, a funny thing that everybody thinks is funny. And we finally saw him again at a baby shower for this friend and his wife. And he was so much more chill, like, because I didn't treat, like, don't make it weird.
Right.
Like, you're going to make it weird.
Right.
You're the one making it weird. Like, it's not a big deal. We can still be buddies. I thought you were pretty cool. And, like, it's nice to know that you find me attractive. I am flattered. But, like, it was just really funny.
But also,
Yeah. And so this time he was just like, you remember that one time that I tried to have a threesome with you and your wife? And I was like, oh boy, do I?
Brought it up.
I will never forget it.
Can we talk about this? Honestly, good on him, though, for, like, making it a joke and, like, making it something where it's like, he also...
It only took, like, 4 years for him to get there, but
he probably had to do intensive therapy to get over what he did, but, like, he's past it now. But
So,
like,
it
you
was
guys,
fun.
you really have to be like in tune with
Yeah.
people, like, and social situations.
I was
like,
so amused, but also really it was Jen's reaction to that, where she was just like,
yeah, she
What
was
do I
like,
do?
backtrack.
and but of course she was probably like, oh shit, like, is Bridget attracted to this guy? Does
Right.
She wanna
Is
have a
Bridget
threesome
gonna
right
say
now?
yes?
Am I about to have to sleep with a man? Like,
Meanwhile, you were like,
like, you could see the gears turning, and you
God.
could see like the panic in her eyes. But she's also very good at like keeping cool in
Yeah.
this. Like, if you know her, you know
Yeah.
what's going on.
God,
It was so good.
what a silly time.
Fun
You guys
times.
are just so silly.
So
Everyone's
silly.
just so silly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Just a
including
girl.
us.
I'm
just
just
girls.
a girl.
Well, any final notes? This is
No.
my wave.
No
of
notes.
The day. No notes.
No notes.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
We love you guys.
Love the fuck out of you guys.
Go forth.
Have a spicy trauma-filled day, week, month, life,
Be good.
or don't.
We
We
won't.
won't. Mm-mm.
I'm gonna eat a spicy
Shit.
lentil wrap after this, and
That sounds awful.
no, it's good.
Is it?
It's me being good. Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
it's from Trader Joe's.
I don't know. I just need to eat something.
You need to drink your fucking water.
I know.
Oh my God, did you even drink any of it? You
I
said you were
had
gonna
the
drink it during the episode.
Well, I did drink it during the episode. I never said I was going to.
This is my
all
second
of it.
bottle since we came in here.
This is my third bottle of water.
Calling
this week.
all doms. Somebody needs to get a hold of her.
Please.
With both hands.
Yeah.
All right.
I will dehydrate myself to the point of having to be hospitalized for the IV
Literally
just
that.
for punishment.
Until then, she's my problem. See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Drink your fucking water.
If you like today's episode, follow us on social media at Trauma Bondage Pod. Follow Beth at Modern Day Lilith and Bridget at Your Faith Femme.
If voyeurism is your kink, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Trauma Bondage Podcast. Production by Instrumental Media. Special thanks to D. Dumpy and Wolfstar for music.